has hit on a lot of what he has done when it comes to hiring coaches and things of that nature. I for one, am a big fan, but like there's a lot going on with that story, and it's not necessarily like we've proven a ton of it. So we'll get into all of that later. we've got a whole lot of that. There's questions galore, right? Like you could ask a bunch of them. I want to know, do those questions have any merit? The story I'd like to start off with, though, is the Tennessee Titans drafted Corey Davis, the number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft. Corey Davis, a wide receiver out of Western Michigan. And at the time, I think a draft pick that a lot of people were fairly skeptical of, especially when you consider how high the Titans took him, that a lot of people believed, you didn't have to take him at 5. And for some people, probably not even the best receiver on the board, even though I feel like that's a fairly loaded wide receiver draft. But nevertheless, the Titans felt like that was their guy. That was the guy that they wanted to get, and they went ahead and reeled him in, Corey Davis, in an attempt to get Marcus Mariota some kind of weaponry, right? Like some kind of down the field ability, because the Titans didn't have that last year. As successful as their offense was capable of being, right? Like you run through, or you throw the ball through Delaney Walker. He was able to anchor the offensive passing game at times. Running the football the way Mike Mularkey wants you to, whether or not you believe that is a good strategy for the modern NFL. Mike Mularkey has chosen to go with running the football. And Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray did a very good job for the Titans in that respect last year. We just did not get Marcus Mariota a ton of weapons on the outside, and the Titans addressed that in the draft, right? And there are a lot of criticisms of Corey Davis. He's a Division II guy. So how does he stack up against elite talent? Only time will tell. Even though he's got his records at Western Michigan, there's another Division II quarterback that his records are right there in the same league with, and that would be Randy Moss. And anytime you can be in good company with Randy Moss, please try to do that if you're a wide receiver in the NFL, right? So like he's definitely not a bad receiver. He's definitely at least good. People talk about him being a cerebral wide receiver, sort of student of the game kind of guy. And the other criticism that people have had of him, though, are his hands, right? That he has dropped a lot of easy balls. Guys are not anywhere near him. Not a human being in sight. Corey Davis drops the ball. A lot of times it looks like he is anticipating getting a big run after the catch, and he takes his eyes off of the ball. It's not like he can't catch. He certainly has the ability to reel it in, but when he feels like he can do a lot of damage, when he can make plays after the catch, he has a tendency to take his eyes off of the ball, and he loses the catch. So that's something that's going to need to be corrected, but it did not stop John Robinson. It did not stop the Tennessee Titans from looking at this guy and going, you know what? Let's go ahead and take a gamble on him. Let's go ahead and take a flyer on a guy that does appear to be incredibly athletic. He does appear to be incredibly fast. He does have that separation. At 6'3", he's got a good body, a good size on him. Go ahead and take a shot at a guy that may go out there and win some football games for you in a situation where your quarterback desperately needs that kind of playmaking ability. And if Corey Davis winds up being the guy that the Titans think that he can be, the sort of speedster that can take the top off of the defense, Tennessee's entire offense tends to open up at that point, right? Like you can't deny that it does. And one thing that a guy who can take the top off the defense can do for someone with the skill set of a Marcus Mariota, where he's got the wheels, he's got the mobility to make plays with his feet. Now running lanes open up. And Marcus Mariota is the fastest guy at the quarterback position in the entire league. And at this particular juncture in his career, it's not particularly close, right? Like you can talk about Cam, but Cam's biggest strength is that he's just impossible to tackle, right? Cam is quick, fast. He's a long strider, but when you hit Cam, you really can't bring him down by yourself, right? Like try bringing down a woolly mammoth. That's where you wind up with him. Mariota's speed is his biggest asset there as a mobile quarterback. And I think that the ability to extend plays with his feet, you combine that with a Corey Davis, I think that the Titans are very, very capable of winning the AFC South next year, the awful AFC South, because it stands to reason, quite frankly, that the Jaguars will still be bad. I don't know how good the Texans will be with no quarterback. Bill O'Brien has been managing to win with no quarterback. But how long can that continue if Tom Savage is your guy and you believe that Deshaun Watson is a year away? Right? I just don't think that the Texans have it this year. And then, of course, you have to deal with the health of a J.J. Watt and all of that stuff. And then, of course, the Colts, who have not given weapons to Andrew Luck. He still doesn't have weapons. He still doesn't have an offensive line that's great. I mean, they're in the building process of that. They should have been further down the road in that, I believe, and they're still not. It's very possible that the Tennessee Titans could win this division. It's weak enough for them to win, right? So I understand that the idea that you could hear news about Corey Davis and he's balling out in camp and he looks great in camp, and you want to roll your eyes at this point in the offseason and go, well, it's just training camp. Let me posit you with this alternative. You could be a fan of the New York Jets. You could be a fan of the New York Jets. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM here on Nooga Radio. What do I mean by that? Well, the opposite of having good training camp stories is having bad training camp stories. So before you overlook a good training camp story as just being a training camp story, might I posit you with this reality? The New York Jets are just filled with bad training camp stories because they are the New York Jets, right? Like, they get covered because they're in a media mega market. They're in New York. They've got the lights. They've got the glamour, but they're awful. Like, if you were going to be awful, you would rather be out in Jacksonville, right? Like, you would just be somewhere where the media and the lights aren't so bright on you, because right now the Jets are looking at their quarterback position. They don't really have anybody. Christian Hackenberg is a guy that they drafted to be their sort of heir apparent. They believed that he just needed some time to gel. They refused to play him last year. They needed him to understand the game. They needed him to come along mentally first, right? Because that was the knock on Christian Hackenberg. Christian Hackenberg is a physical specimen. He can make all the throws. He's got a strong arm. He's pretty mobile. He's not fast, but he's pretty mobile, got decent feet. But the decision-making with Christian Hackenberg got worse as his college career went on. So you have to look at him and go, mentally, can we get this guy caught up? Well, report from Bleacher Report out of New York, Christian Hackenberg cannot stop hitting reporters on the sideline with errant passes. Okay, and I understand that they definitely worded that way to exaggerate it. They worded it that way for the humor that would be involved. If your headline reads, dude cannot stop doing something, that is different than he constantly does it, that he does it fairly often. If he cannot stop, there's a compulsion there that makes that headline absolutely humorous. And yeah, they did it for the humor involved. But the fact remains, nothing makes you more sad if you're a Jets fan than, oh boy, Christian Hackenberg cannot stop hitting reporters with bad passes. So I tell you this, if you're a Titans fan and Corey Davis is your wide receiver and you get a good Corey Davis training camp story, and your first thought is, well, let me be skeptical. Nah, man. Just go on ahead and roll with it. Just go on ahead and roll. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Now let's talk about David Blackburn really quickly, because David Blackburn, to me, is possibly the most interesting sports story going on in Chattanooga right now. And by possibly, I mean definitely. Steps down as the UTC athletic director and had a successful run doing so. But at some point, you do have to think to yourself, coaches have come through UTC, right? They've come, they've gone, they've jumped to bigger schools, right? Bigger contracts, maybe in their minds, greater recruiting. Matt McCall and Will Wade, and even a guy like Russ Huseman, who didn't necessarily jump to any place like gigantically large, but did go to Richmond, which is a place where he has coached previously. So it's a lot of guys leaving for other pastures. And, the goal always was to get someone to come to UTC and stay here and build something long term. But I always found it interesting. We've believed so much in David Blackburn. How come it was that David Blackburn never decided to jump away? Like, maybe he did just believe in UTC like that But according to this article by you may have seen it in the Times Free Press, but by Mark Wiedmer, that sort of David Blackburn's attempt to be the athletic director at UT in Knoxville, that is the reason why he has had to step away from being the athletic director at UTC. And for those of you who recall this, when the UT athletic director job opened up, like David Blackburn's name was one of the first names tossed in the middle. It was one of the first ones, and to the point where I honestly believed, at least early on in that process, that it was an inevitability and they were going to do their vetting and they were going to interview other candidates. But like David Blackburn is a good choice. And I think that it ended up hanging out there too long. According to Mark Wiedmer in the story, that the sort of scrutiny of, is David Blackburn here or is he not here? The fact of the matter is, had that been a process that would have happened behind closed doors, if that would have been a process that would have happened anonymously, maybe you get anonymous tips and anonymous sources, but it wasn't. It was a very public process. It was something that we all got to see. And his name was in that headline for like a month to a month and a half. Right? To the point where like I couldn't keep talking about that story anymore. That's how long it was. His name was in there, and then Philip Fulmer's name got tossed in there. And I think that that's when the David Blackburn to UT gravy train started to lose a little bit of steam, was when Philip Fulmer's name got tossed about, right? And then you were starting to get into, okay, well, Philip Fulmer would be interested in doing it. Like if you had to choose between David Blackburn and Philip Fulmer, like which name would engender a greater fan reaction? Fulmer would be it. So like that kind of took him back a step, but now you're operating under this assumption that like your athletic director has looked actively to leave your school, right? And if you're David Blackburn, how long can you continue to work in an environment where that's going to be something that's hanging over your head? That like, yeah, no, you tried to leave. You tried to leave. It's one thing if you try to leave and you get it, but if you don't, now you have to sort of live with this reality. And I don't think that Mocs fans honestly would have cared, right? Like, I don't know. As someone who watches the Mocs, if David Blackburn tries to go somewhere, doesn't end up going somewhere, and winds up sticking around, like, I don't know. My feelings aren't hurt. I've seen many coaches pass through, right? Matt McCall was not even here a year, right? Got a 29-win team and thought, well, I think this is as good as this gets for me. I'm off to UMass, right? Not a great basketball power, by the way. Bro jumped to UMass, right? Like Will Wade went to VCU, which had a tournament run. And if you had to mention, like if you saw VCU in your tournament bracket and they were like a 7 seed, you might pick them to do something. Who on earth is picking UMass to go anywhere and do anything? Right? Not saying that they won't, not saying that they can't. I'm just saying that would not be the idea off the top of my head. Right? So I've seen coaches go through. I'm not personally one to be heartbroken by this idea that someone is trying to exercise mobility. I just am not. Right? You know me. I'm the biggest Kevin Durant supporter in this entire off-season thing that has been this entire season now. There's been, the experiment with the Warriors. Like mobility is something to me that I greatly treasure because it's like the focal point of the business I'm in. You move to where the work is, and you move to where the work is good. If David Blackburn wanted to try and exercise that mobility and go somewhere else and found that he did not think that was a thing, like it ends up not working out, like I don't hold it against you for trying to be mobile. Like I just don't, especially when you consider he's a UT alum, has a lot of love for the Vols. And if that's your dream job, why wouldn't you want to go there? Like for me, if I ever got a job in Washington, D.C. doing sports talk radio, I feel like I would go because I grew up listening to Washington, D.C. sports radio. Like that's my dream job. Like if your dream job came to you on a silver platter, would you not try to go? But it may have ruffled feathers inside of the organization. And that is something that is worth noting, right? Like now you have to continue to work on that because, and Mark Wiedmer made another great point in his column which was this. David Blackburn was set to make $180,000 this year, right? Which is not to say that it's time to reach into a man's pocket and start counting his money. I'm not about that. I'm just saying $180,000, regardless of who you are, is a lot of money to walk away from. It's a lot of money to walk away from. So, like, why did you feel you needed to walk away? Like, you didn't feel like getting fired was the way to go. You felt the need to walk away, right? Like, you can't fire me, I quit kind of deal. And that's where most of the questions arise. Like, you definitely felt some level of discomfort inside of the organization because you walked away from 180 grand, right? Which, you know, if you were making that kind of money before, like, you're not broke, but, you know, if someone was going to fire you, they'd have to owe you that money. Typically, is how this goes. I don't know the wording of the contract. I'm just saying, like, typically how this goes is if you fire me, I get to keep the money. If I walk away, I don't necessarily get to. So the fact that David Blackburn chose to walk away does lend itself to the idea that there was a little bit of discomfort going on there. Now, my thing always is with this: when someone is uncomfortable and feels the need to walk away, or you fire them, regardless of how that situation goes down, the writing is on the wall. Who are you going to replace David Blackburn with? Like, because now the plan had to be in place, right? Like, if you felt like he was uncomfortable and you're UTC, you have to feel like there was a plan here just in case. Just in case. But the reaction does not seem to be telling me that there is a plan. Right? Like, we are just now cracking open just a wide net search, as though the possibility of David Blackburn leaving is a complete surprise, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, has to be on some level, because if you were a guy that's been as successful as David Blackburn's been, right? Like, when you're ready to walk away, you can always walk away. But it does appear as though this is very sudden. Like, you didn't install something in place for what happens after you give the school the ability to find somebody in the interim while you're deciding whether or not to go. And I hate to speculate about what another person is trying to think or do or say, because it gets tough, right? When you look at it, there's no real way of knowing, and there's a point where it just gets stupid and silly to speculate. And it's wild and it's aimless. I'm just saying $180,000 is incredibly tough to walk away from. And the fact that he felt completely comfortable with that speaks a lot to, as far as comfort-wise goes, where he felt he was with UTC. Now, it could just be a Bob Stoops kind of thing, right? Like, Bob Stoops retired as head coach of Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago, and the Bob Stoops situation, a lot of people were trying to tie this to this, that, and the other thing, but Bob Stoops always said he was going to coach until his mid-50s, and then he's going to walk away because his dad had a heart attack in his mid-50s coaching football, right? And if you have a moment like that, you're going to always consider your family. You're always going to consider that in your life. And so if you're David Blackburn, like, maybe you just decided there was going to come a time where I was going to walk away. I don't know exactly when it is, but when the moment comes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And he felt like the moment was here. That is also a distinct possibility. I'm just saying, when I put everything on the scales, $180,000 is something that, if you're going to walk away from it, you need a lot of really good reasons. A lot of really, really good reasons. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news, now.
Chuck Fleischman injured and bloodied, escaping from gunfire, suffering an injury to his ankle. There was a shooting at a Republican baseball practice game for representatives and senators. One congressional aide was shot in the chest, and House Majority Whip Steve Scalise in critical condition after being shot in the hip. The man believed to be the shooter, James Hodgkinson from Illinois, confirmed dead. He had a violent past, including arrest for battery, and posted vehement anti-Trump messages on his social media pages. The manhunt continues for 2 Georgia inmates accused of killing 2 correctional officers and escaping in a carjacked vehicle. A $60,000 reward is being offered for any information that leads to the capture of Donnie Rowe and Ricky DuBose. Rescue efforts underway Wednesday afternoon for a teenager who fell at the Blue Hole swimming area in the Pocket Wilderness in Soddy Daisy. Rescuers say she slipped and injured her ankle. One of many injuries at the Cumberland Trail in the last few months. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any isolated showers are quickly diminished through your nighttime. Muggy overnight, lows of around 70. Now for your midweek, more typical summertime weather with hot and humid days through Thursday. A few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms. More of that expected through Friday. This month at participating Napa stores, Valvoline Full Synthetic Motor Oil is on sale for just $5.59 a quart. Take advantage now and protect your engine from the heat all summer long, now at your local Napa Auto Parts. And I'm Storm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. EJ Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream, home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area, Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Hey, Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge amount of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis, you know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling, Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Gold and Diamonds. Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio. AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Lunch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. It's the summer struggle in the media biz. We're done with basketball, right? We've got the draft, really, but we're pretty much done. We're 70 some odd days away from football. We are in the dog days of summer. We're dealing with the middle of baseball season. And the Braves were bad in the middle of baseball season. This is obviously a huge problem for me. I subject myself, I believe, to more bad Braves games than any human should. That includes you and your family. Like, go watch the Lookouts or something. Aren't they top of the division? Go watch the Lookouts or something, man. Subject yourself to bad Braves baseball. Anywho, it's the summer struggle, right? And so, like, people are just trying to figure out, like, what on earth do we talk about now? For the next 70 days until a football is meaningfully thrown anywhere, what on earth do we talk about now? And I understand that this is a thing that happens to everybody, but man, I did not expect us to get here so fast. We still have the NBA draft left, like I said. The U.S. Open is tomorrow. We got the Aaron Judge hype train. Is Phil Mickelson going to play in the U.S. Open? He might miss it for his daughter's graduation, but he's not necessarily dropping out just in case he can make it. How late can Phil Mickelson show up to the U.S. Open and still participate in the U.S. Open? I mean, there's plenty of stuff to talk about, but no, we've got some people on their summer struggle stuff immediately. Like, they woke up today and did not know what to write. They woke up today and did not know what to talk about. And I just think it's interesting because I bumped into a couple of articles today that are just head scratchers of articles. Like, I don't follow necessarily where the rationale is, right? The first one is by Jason McIntyre. He writes for the Big Lead, a USA Today blog. I like Jason McIntyre overall. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's really good at what he does. What show is he on? He's on the one of the Fox Sports One shows. I think is Undisputed. Like, I like him a lot. But man, this is a summer article if ever I saw one. It's a summer article. It feels like a clickbait article. It feels like race baiting. It's all of those things wrapped into one glorious package. And the article basically is, do NBA fans have a problem with super teams because they're scared that young black men are taking power away from the owners? And while I do believe that there is some merit to that observation, I believe that the people who are scared that the power is being taken from them are the owners. Why on earth would you think that, like, fans care? Fans don't care. Do you know how often fans side with owners on things simply because they require a stronger, tougher road for players? Like, fans don't care who's taking power from who. You've got millionaires versus billionaires, and fans are neither. What do you think fans just sit down and go, oh, yeah, super teams. We're so worried about it. Like, first off, like, black people aren't mad about super teams too? What are you talking about? Where did you pull that out from? I have serious questions. And this is just one of those cases of seeing racism where there isn't any, right? Like, it exists in this world. Racism exists. I've talked about it plenty on this show when it exists. Like, it's not here. Fans have a problem with super teams because nobody wants to wake up one morning and go, oh, yeah, my team that I've been rooting for 15, 20 years has zero chance to win anything. Zero. And I knew it before the season started. I knew it halfway through the season. I knew it before the playoffs. I knew it during the playoffs. And now it's been confirmed for me. My team never had a chance. Of course, people don't like that. Of course they don't. What on earth does any of that have to do with race? Like, I strongly disagree with that. And it's a summer article because it's something that you would not write about in the regular season. Case in point, he did not write about this in the regular season. Like, you were just trying to find stuff to say. You are trying so hard to find stuff to say, and you have found something, and it makes no sense. Like, you were just grasping at straws on that one, bro. You are just grasping at straws. I don't follow the logic on that at all. Yeah, I understand that there is a power structure, but I don't believe that fans care. What? And, like, what do you have to be thinking about to come up to that conclusion? Because, like, despite being a member of the media, like, we're still fans. Maybe we don't all root for teams. Like, some of us have managed to be objective. Not me, because I like the Wizards. I've always liked the Wizards. I will always like the Wizards, even though they disappoint me constantly. Like, that's just where I am with that. Some of us have managed to step back and be fairly objective about this. But you're still a fan of the game. How do you lose sight of fandom so hard that you don't even know what it is the fans like or dislike anymore? Or did you just wake up this morning and think to yourself, oh, yeah, I'm writing a hot take? No take will be hotter than this take right here. Piping hot out the oven. Here's the hot take. Like, where do you come from with that? Like, fans care about the racial power structure between players and owners. Fans don't care. What does that have to do with anything? Fans hate super teams because they are afraid of young black players taking power away from white owners. To come to that conclusion, and again, I think that Jason McIntyre is overwhelmingly a smart guy, right? I'm not here to put the guy down, but his opinion is ripe. That there needs some more development and possibly a little bit more growth. Because to believe that somehow fans care about that at all is to be somehow both out of touch with players and out of touch with fans, right? Like, what fan have you talked to about Kevin Durant's move, or anytime a player transfers away, that you thought to yourself, yep, the reason why I completely hate this is because this player is young and black and is exercising his mobility? Like, no one's thinking about that. What you're thinking about is, well, I want the league to be more fair because I think it's more fun that way, right? I want teams to be less stacked because I think it's more fun that way. I just think it's going to be like players are going to do what's easier for players to do. And they do not care what you think, nor should they care what you think. But the assertion that somehow this is a racial issue, it is not. It is not even close. And I'll call it. You know me, I call them as I see them. I'll call it if I see it. I don't see one here. Play ball. That'd be wow. Absolutely wow. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. And like, that was not even the stupidest thing that I saw today, right? I was looking through the 4-letter and all of their stuff, and they had a thing with Stephen A. and Max, and it was, how should Russell Westbrook feel about KD winning the NBA Finals? And this is the stuff that if you're not a fan of First Take, like I am not, this is why you are not a fan of First Take. What do you mean, what should Russell Westbrook feel after KD wins the finals? Look, Russell Westbrook ought to feel like every other team in the NBA ought to feel. Mad that they didn't win the finals, right? Like, Cleveland should be most mad, but everybody else should just be mad that you didn't win the finals, that you weren't even close. You should feel exactly the way that Cleveland feels, except maybe less tired. What do you mean? What should he feel? Really? We're breaking down his feelings now? Honestly? You know what I think that Russell Westbrook feels about not winning the NBA Finals? I don't think that Russell Westbrook cares. Right? He said he didn't watch the finals. I don't think Russell Westbrook cares. Like, he knew what he was getting into this year. He was going to be the top dog on a team where he's the alpha and the next person down the line is not even a beta. It's his team. They win on him. They lose on him. Like, I think he knew what the score was. Like, you were close to going to the NBA Finals and you were having struggles with it, and you had Kevin Durant on your team. What, he thought he was going to get better? He thought they were going to be better without him? I don't think Russell Westbrook's that crazy. Right? Like, there's plenty of stories that show and can illustrate how crazy Russell Westbrook is. I don't think even he is that crazy. He's going to try and do this thing by himself, and then he's going to realize he needs some help, and then hopefully someone will come help him. That's about all we got going for us on that one. Or maybe they'll design the team around him like Westbrook. That's it. I don't see anything else. What do you mean should Russell Westbrook feel? Russell Westbrook should feel mad that he didn't win a finals. That's it. Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. Speaking of which, we suspect that Russell Westbrook is the MVP, and a lot of the votes have been leaked and things, and so people have fairly well calculated that he has won the MVP award. I just find it weird that he has not actually been handed the MVP award. Like, you realize at this point in the NBA offseason, nobody cares. The MVP conversation was cool while all those guys were still playing basketball. Now nobody's playing basketball. Why have they not handed out this award yet? I think they've absolutely botched this entire process. How have they not yet handed out this award? But if you put on an NBA award show, we're all going to sit down and watch it. I don't like basketball that much. Right? I like watching games, not award shows. Like, the reason why the NFL award show works out so well is because they do it right before the Super Bowl. So you're all just geeked out on football. You're ready to go. Anything football will satisfy you until the Super Bowl. If they did that award show after the Super Bowl, who on earth do you think would watch? We're here for the football, man. That's all we're here for. We're not here for any of that other stuff. We're here for the sports. The NBA got this all messed up. You've got to give those MVP awards out to people. You've got to give the Defensive Player of the Year award out to people while we still care. Right? Like, once the title game is done, that's it. We're out. Nobody is trying to sit down and figure out who is the MVP of what. We'll do a little segment on it when it happens, but it's not going to be the show. Like, it might have been the show when people were still playing basketball. It's not going to be the show now. What on earth is the NBA thinking with all of that? That ain't the show. That can't possibly be the show. So I just bumped into this list, by the way. Athlon Sports released on their website their rankings of the top 130 football teams, which I have to first off applaud Athlons for how it is that they went about doing this. They ranked every team from 1 to 130, and every team 1 to 130 has a decent write-up on them, right? Like, nothing was absolutely mailed in on this. There's not a ton of ads on the page. There isn't a stupid slideshow. Right? Like, that's one of the reasons why I cannot use Bleacher Report's website. I cannot use it. It's unusable to me. Anytime they make a list, it's a slideshow. Right? Bleacher Report and for my news, BuzzFeed. If you make slideshows, can't use you. Can't use you. Unusable. Why can't I just scroll down with my mouse and read the list? Well, here we go. Right? Athlons delivers on a non-ad covered non-slideshow, and non-clickbait, by the way. Non-clickbait. Top 130 list of all the teams in college football, of which Alabama is obviously number one. Number two on that list, Ohio State, which makes sense because Ohio State's not losing a ton of talent from last year. And quite frankly, they outperformed themselves. They wound up in the college football playoff. A lot of people thought, maybe they shouldn't have been, but they outperformed themselves for sure. And they're coming back. They are more talented this year than they were last year. Number two, I think, is a good spot for them. Number three is Florida State. I'm not going to lie. Watched none of Florida State last year, really. I watched the Ole Miss game with Florida State, and I watched the Clemson game with Florida State. That's about it. The Florida State-Clemson game was not a very good game. It was an ugly game. And Florida State put the comeback on Ole Miss. Right? Washington is 4. USC is 5. And as I went down this list, Penn State 6, I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of traditional powers in the top 10 of this. Right? Washington kind of bucks the trend there at 4. But everybody else, USC, the Trojans, Penn State, Alabama, Florida State, Clemson, Oklahoma, Auburn, Michigan, that's the top 10. Washington is the only truly non-traditional power on that list. And even Washington's had their past where they were good. Right? So you got a couple of SEC teams here in the top 10 of this, on the top 10 of this list. And yeah. They're big ones because Alabama and Auburn, only one of those teams are coming out. Right? Auburn's got a real good chance of punching Alabama in the face and really making this one miserable for Tide fans because of the addition of Jarrett Stidham. The fact that Cameron Petway is a beast at running back. We've got a very good unit there, right? LSU, by the way, on the outside looking into that top 10, they're 11. Georgia's 15. Florida 16. And Tennessee is 19th. And by the way, they're ranked, I believe, 4th in the SEC by Athens as well, projected at 8 and 4. So I'm not crazy. I honestly do believe that Tennessee can find 8 wins on their schedule. Okay, this is possibly the most accurately rated Tennessee has ever been since I've been covering Tennessee football. This is what, year 3 for me now? Because, and I said this yesterday, Tennessee is a school that I think that everybody wants to succeed, right? The national media wants Tennessee to be good again, which is kind of unfortunate for a couple of reasons. One, it puts unnecessary pressure, I think, on these players and on this coaching staff, and you can tell Butch Jones does not want the pressure, right? The moment people start heaping pressure on Butch Jones, he gets into the mode of, nope, I'm shoveling this off. Do not want any parts of what that is. He's out of it. Does not want the pressure. But then the media turns around and beats Tennessee up for not living up to the expectations that the national media set for Tennessee football. Which I find to be absurd and a little bit unfair, but that does speak to the point that the national media really does want Tennessee to be good again. But finally, I think people are getting a little fed up with the disappointing seasons, even on the national level. And I think that with them, this is a good season for them to just meet expectations. People think you're going to win 7 to 8 games. Win 7 to 8 games. I think 8's better. 8 looks better on paper. It's okay, this is not a year where anybody expected much from us, and we were solid, right? That's still a bowl game. That's still far from the dark ages that we left not too long ago, okay? It was not that long ago that we were looking at 5-win Tennessee football. But there's something to be grateful for there, at least a little bit. An 8-win Tennessee football team on a down year is not bad. 7 wins is also not bad. That's why Vegas has got you at 7.5. I do feel like if you should so happen to mess up and underachieve from the absolutely normal level of hype that people have been giving Tennessee, if you somehow manage to underachieve that, yeah, Butch Jones walks out that door, right? You just drop the hammer on him. 5 or 6 wins is not good enough for Butch Jones. People will bristle at 7, but 7 on a down year is not bad, right? Like there are peaks and valleys to this thing. Last year was the year where it should have happened. I absolutely agree with everybody on that. Last year was the year it should have happened, and it didn't. But on a down year, if you can come away with 7-8 victories, like that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Like a coach who can do that and would have put together the record that Butch Jones has put at Tennessee so far. I think that he gets hired immediately somewhere else were you to fire him, right? Like Butch Jones, if you were to fire Butch Jones, say Tennessee goes 7 games, and for some reason that's a fireable offense. He's not looking for work very long, right? Like he just isn't. Like that record is not a bad record at all. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident, raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jets Pizza. If you eat out at Jets in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jets. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jets Pizza at Buy Low near the S-Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jets Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today, 423-855-8484. Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian, this Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off, coming off turn number 2, nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR. WDLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga, WSDG Saudi Daisy Chattanooga.
Members of Congress targeted by a shooter in Virginia.
Go down in the baseball field.
Dozens, if not hundreds, of shots fired. It was scary.
Then a call for unity.
An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
This is the CBS World News Roundup Late Edition. I'm Dave Barrett. It was just after 7 in Alexandria, Virginia.
Shots being fired, and there are people running.
Republican members of Congress were practicing for tomorrow's charity baseball game. A man with an assault weapon targeted those lawmakers. Imagine this, if you were on that field. That audio, courtesy of the New York Post.
The bullets are landing just a couple of feet from me on the other side of the fence. They're hitting the dirt of the warning track. I can see the dirt, poofing up as the bullets hit.
Ohio Congressman Brad Wenstrup saw colleague Steve Scalise from Louisiana wounded on the field.
I had just gone to the batting cages and I heard a gunshot, and everyone just started getting down. And then we realized after a few more shots that Steve Scalise had been hit.
Arizona Senator Jeff Flake.
He laid out there for at least 10 minutes alone in the field, and we couldn't get to him while there were shots.
Texas Congressman Roger Williams.
We were sitting ducks. I mean, we had nothing to fight back with but bats if it got to that.
Congressman Brad Wenstrup took action.
I went out to Steve Scalise. I felt like I was back in Iraq as a surgeon.
Scalise is high on the House leadership. He does have a security detail. Pennsylvania Congressman Mike Doyle.
Had Steve's personal detail not been there on the field with him, this could have been much, much worse.
President Trump spoke at midday.
Many lives would have been lost if not for the heroic actions of the 2 Capitol police officers who took down the gunman despite sustaining gunshot wounds.
The suspect, 66-year-old James Hodgkinson, died after being shot. He's from Belleville, Illinois, was not known to the Secret Service, but, says CBS's Jeff Pegues,
there were some anti-Trump postings on his Facebook. Quote, Trump is a traitor. He has destroyed our democracy.
FBI Special Agent Tim Slater spoke at a news conference a short time ago.
Law enforcement has reason to believe that the shooter
has been in Alexandria, Virginia area since March of this year.
They believe he was living in his vehicle. President Trump offered prayers for the victims. Congressman Steve Scalise, who's in critical condition, he's had surgery after being shot in the hip. Lobbyist Matt Micah, also in critical condition. Another Capitol police officer was hurt but not shot. And Texas Congressman Roger Williams has an ankle injury. President Trump offered his support today at the White House.
Our children deserve to grow up in a nation of safety and peace, and that we are strongest when we are unified.
Democrat Mike Doyle spoke to those across the aisle, saying tonight,
we would like to host the entire Republican team down at the Democratic Club. Probably some of them have never stepped foot in that building.
And that congressional baseball game will be played at this time a night from now. Dow is up 46. Now this.
Greta is a drill instructor.
On your feet and negotiate this obstacle.
Yes, ma'am. When it comes to training lean, mean fighting machines, she doesn't mess around.
I do not have all day, people.
But in her free time, Greta's an amazing poet, and she knows it.
The green grass, it whispers to me like an ancient firefly.
Look at her throw those verses with confidence. But when it comes to getting a mortgage, Greta's less confident.
A little help here?
Fortunately for Greta, there's Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. It's simple, so she can understand the details and know she's getting the right mortgage.
My confidence, it's returned like a jealous lover on a rainy night.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. Go to rocketmortgage.com today.
Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Developing story regarding the Trump-Russia probe. CBS's Bill Rakoff.
The Washington Post report quotes unnamed officials as saying Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats, NSA Director Admiral Mike Rogers, and Rogers' former deputy have agreed to talk with Special Counsel Robert Mueller as soon as this week, as the probe is widening to include a look at whether the president tried to obstruct justice.
In San Francisco, another workplace shooting.
The suspect is deceased, as are 3 of the shooting victims. This is a terrible tragedy.
That's Assistant Police Chief Tony Chaplin at a UPS package facility. A man wearing a UPS uniform opened fire. Suspect killed himself. No motive for that attack. No verdict yet at the Bill Cosby trial, where there was another readback to jurors. CBS's Matt Piper.
They asked to rehear testimony of accuser Andrea Constant from the night she says Bill Cosby gave her pills and sexually assaulted her.
You're listening to the CBS World News Show.
2, 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Chuck Fleischman injured and bloodied, escaping from gunfire, suffering an injury to his ankle. There was a shooting at a Republican baseball practice game for representatives and senators. One congressional aide was shot in the chest, and House Majority Whip Steve Scalise in critical condition after being shot in the hip. The man believed to be the shooter, James Hodgkinson from Illinois, confirmed dead. He had a violent past, including arrest for battery, and posted vehement anti-Trump messages on his social media pages. The manhunt continues for 2 Georgia inmates accused of killing 2 correctional officers and escaping in a carjacked vehicle. A $60,000 reward is being offered for any information that leads to the capture of Donnie Rowe and Ricky DuBose. Rescue efforts underway Wednesday afternoon for a teenager who fell at the Blue Hole swimming area in the Pocket Wilderness in Soddy Daisy. Rescuers say she slipped and injured her ankle. One of many injuries at the Cumberland Trail in the last few months. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any isolated showers will quickly diminish through your nighttime. Muggy overnight lows of around 70. Now for your midweek, more typical summertime weather with hot and humid days through Thursday. A few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms. More of that expected through Friday. This month at participating Napa stores, Valvoline Full Synthetic Motor Oil is on sale for just $5.59 a quart. Take advantage now and protect your engine from the heat all summer long, now at your local Napa Auto Parts. And I'm Storm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM, and 95.3 HD4. News, talk, sports. Nooga Radio.
You're listening to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose, here on Nooga Radio. Our phone number is 423-800-8949. It's 800-8949 if you want to weigh in on all or any of the sports topics of the day, or just one you found that you'd just like to talk about, that you thought I missed something, or you think I'm being stupid, or whatever. Plenty of people get at me on Twitter. You're also welcome here. The phone number is 800-8949. The big story, or the developing story over the last couple of days, has been UTC Athletic Director David Blackburn. What's the dealio, Emilio, with him? Right? Like that's sort of where we are, because we don't necessarily know all of the stuff surrounding it, but at the same time, the story is fairly straightforward. David Blackburn decides to step down, right? But it feels like there's more stuff here. We don't know. If you speculate too much, it is wild and it is aimless, and then you do that thing that we do in sports where it's just like you're projecting other people's feelings and you're projecting other people's opinions, but they're really your feelings and they're really your opinions. It's not, we don't know necessarily what's happening behind those closed doors, but there is a fair amount of stuff, at least in this story, that is out there for public consumption that reasonable people will draw conclusions from, right? For instance, and this is from a column by Mark Wiedmer of the Times Free Press. For instance, David Blackburn, he's got a lot of love for UT in Knoxville, right? Like it's not a secret. When that athletic director job became available, he did vie for that job. He was one of the candidates who was being looked at for that job, and he himself said publicly he would be open to taking that job. And I do think that there is some air of sort of actively campaigning for another job while you have one that people seem to dislike. That it's the idea that, no, you're already employed, though. That, like, if you are looking for a change of scenery, if you're looking to change jobs, very often you don't just trumpet in front of your employer that you're looking to change jobs. You look first, and then when you've got the other job in hand, then you sort of tell your employer, hey, look, I'm looking at this other job, and try and figure out where it is that you go from there. In the case of David Blackburn, he did publicly say that he would be open to the Tennessee job. And I think that there's a fair amount of stink that came with that, especially when you look at how long UT's athletic director position remained open and how long David Blackburn remained in speculation for that job, which was a while. He was in there for a while. It was something like a month to a month and a half, maybe even longer, where we were just like, man, this job is open, and you're looking at David Blackburn like, is he gonna bolt? Is he gonna go if they offer it to him? And I think that speculation being wide open for that long did make some people uncomfortable. In a similar way that, Jalen Hurd decides halfway through last season he's transferring out of UT, and I think part of it is that people don't like it when players transfer. But I think the big thing with Jalen Hurd is that he specifically did not have to do that in the middle of the season. He could have continued to play. He could have battled. He could have fought. He could have tried a little harder. And then at the end of the season, tell everybody, look, I'm not happy. I'm transferring out, because you still have to sit out the year, whether it's halfway through the season or the end of the season. And he didn't do that. He did it the other way. And it made people upset because, again, you already have a job. People don't like it when you already have a job and then you start looking. It makes others uncomfortable, and it does come off in some circles. As for me, I'm not necessarily one that cares, but it does come off in some circles as a touch unprofessional. So I don't know if that necessarily rubbed people the wrong way. And there's this sort of sense that, David Blackburn is sort of days as UTC athletic director ended up being numbered anyway, which is where that second piece of public evidence, as it were, is open and is causing a degree of speculation, which is that David Blackburn was set to make $180,000 this year, and $180,000 is not something you walk away from, right? Like, if you gave $180,000 to somebody for a bad job, would they still take the job? Of course they would take the job, right? And I am going to cite the Washington Redskins as an example here because Doug Williams is essentially the general manager of the Washington Redskins right now. Essentially, he is in the same spot as the last general manager. He reports to all the same people as the last general manager. And simply because the Redskins and he refuse to call it a general manager spot does not mean that it's not a general manager spot. It very much is a general manager spot. And the way that they ran the last guy out of town, it didn't end up looking so good, right? Like it ended up looking like, oh yeah, no, we stomped you. So if you're Doug Williams now, like you were realizing like on some level, you are the fall guy for what happens here. Like whatever bad thing happens, like they're going to put it on you. So why would, if you're Doug Williams, would you take that job? Well, the money's good. The money's good. People will take bad jobs. They will take jobs where their firing is inevitable, where their blackballing is inevitable, if the money is good enough to take that job. Yes, they will, which is why it's very interesting and at least worth noting, right? Like it doesn't say anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's not evidence of anything, but it is worth noting that $180,000, David Blackburn was like, nah, I'm okay. I'm good. Like, man, what was about to happen to you that $180,000 is not worth at least like sticking around for a little bit? You know, catch some of it. You know, I'm not worried about David Blackburn's ability to feed his family or anything like that. Like the man's set, right? Like that's a well-paying job. You earn your way to that job. You're fine. Like man's not ever ironing his own shirts ever again. I'm just saying. Even Oprah would bend over and pick up $100 bill if it was just lying on the ground. So like $180,000 to walk away from that, like you either felt uncomfortable enough that you decided to walk away from that, or you felt super comfortable enough that you decided you could walk away from that. And the ramifications of either side of that equation wind up being interesting enough that there is a degree of speculation involved in this story, which is why, as it develops, keep it locked in here to AM 1240 and 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. Every inch of this story that I know, you know. And we can talk about it every single day. And if you're UTC, I don't know where you go from here, right? I'm a guy that I keep my ear to the ground when it comes to coaches and things like, oh, who's available as a coach? Like when it comes to who's available as an athletic director, that is a part of the game that like fans don't pay attention to. We don't know the available athletic directors on the open market, right? What, like, name things in sports that fans like to talk about, but we don't really know. We don't really know. Offensive line, right? Especially anybody that's not the left tackle. Like guards and centers, we have a vague idea as to what it is that they do, but we're following the ball when we watch the game. I mean, we don't know exactly what it is that a guard does. Like if you tell me what's the difference between a good guard and a bad guard right now, you don't know. Like offensive line stuff is one of those things. Like we have no idea what it is that happens there. Right? It's a little bit vague. In the NFL, what's a catch and what's not a catch? It's a little bit vague. When your team goes out looking for a new athletic director, when your school goes out looking for a new athletic director, where are they looking? Who are they pulling from? Is anybody available? Like what qualifies this person to be the athletic director of the school? Like none of that stuff do any of us fans actually know. None. So where does UTC go from here? I know I have no idea. But we're gonna keep our eyes out. We're gonna see here, and then we're gonna have some kind of commentary on it, right? Like we're gonna look and pick apart whoever it is that they hire. We're gonna pick apart this person's resume and really kind of hold our breaths until they have the opportunity to do something that we see an athletic director do. Because athletic directors don't just hire coaches. But when we go down your resume, list of successful hires is more or less what we are looking for. right? And that may not even be the best way of tabulating who is and who is not a good athletic director. I'm just saying that's all we look at. You can look at basketball players or football players and go, yeah, X player is better because he's got more rings than player Y. But that's not the best metric for that. And I'm not entirely certain that like successful coaching hires is not necessarily a good way of figuring out who's a good athletic director, because the athletic director is responsible for so much more than hiring coaches. I'm just saying that's all the stuff that we know. Like when it comes to fans and athletic directors, those are all the things that we know. Any fan can tell you who they'd rather have as their head coach, right? Like my question with Butch Jones, because I think Butch Jones is a decent coach, a solid coach. And if you were to fire Butch Jones, if you're a Tennessee fan, you're disgruntled with Butch Jones and all the unmet expectations, who do you replace him with? And I know a lot of diehard Tennessee fans that'd be like, oh, you're asking me that question? Reach in their back pocket and produce a list as long as my arm. But you ask somebody, well, who should you replace your athletic director with? Ain't nobody knows the answer to that question. Nobody knows. Clutch with Keon Rose at AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So the U.S. Open is tomorrow, is when it starts. And we've already got a lot of things with the U.S. Open, which for me is great. Because when you ask me to talk golfers, look, I have guys when I watch golf that I like. But you ask me, like, what separates this guy's game from that guy's game, I know Dustin Johnson can hit the ball far. And that's about all I know. Right? Like, when I watch, like, I suppose I could watch with a more critical eye. I just like to watch the performances, and I like to watch guys basically be technically sound. I am not out here figuring out who is and who is not the best green hitter or who's got the most distance. But when you start asking questions about the field of play, no. Now I have something for you. I have something for you because that to me is far more fascinating than like handicapping the odds of the U.S. Open, which has been done, by the way. Dustin Johnson is considered your favorite sort of overwhelmingly on this thing. And other names that have come up, I believe Jordan Spieth was second. Matt Kuchar's in the mix. So a lot of names that you ought to know and you ought to recognize. Jason Day is right up there. Rory McIlroy. Basically all the guys that can hit far. Why? Because the U.S. Open, as always, is a mess. It's an absolute mess. Like they have decided at the U.S. Open that we are only going to play on golf courses apparently designed by the devil. Like you just have these golf courses that is filled with weeds and like you get caught in the rough, quit. You're done. Like do not get caught in the rough in this tournament. And it's going to be, to me, a very interesting tournament. Now, a lot of golfers have come out and they have complained about it. They have complained about the conditions of the course and all of that stuff, which I don't know why you're complaining. It's not like they haven't done this on purpose. I understand why they're complaining. Like there is a certain merit to complaining, right? It's not going to change anything for this U.S. Open. But if you keep whining about how terrible the course is every year, eventually they're going to change the course. And conceivably, they'll change the course to something that favors you. Like there is a certain merit to complaining. If you go to a restaurant and they keep getting your order wrong and you never say anything, like you're not going to ever get what you want. Like there is a certain merit to complaining about the stuff that you want. So I'm not even getting on a lot of these golfers for doing that. But I like the course. Like as a fan, I can't tell you what it's like to golf on the course in large part because I do not play golf. I simply watch it. I am horrific at golf. I've never actually played anything outside of the putt-putt levels. So there's that. Though I have been told on a number of occasions that I am getting old. And when you start getting old, golf starts to be your game. Like I am 27 and I play pickup basketball every week. And one thing I can tell you about pickup basketball when you're done playing is that it hurts, and it hurts everywhere. Like at some point, you just need to start easing into that golf game. Like if you want to keep being athletic and having fun and competing on a Sunday, you need to slide into that golf game. Like pickup basketball gets to be just a little bit too much over time. Like I still feel like I got some pickup basketball in me. I'm just saying, like it gets to be a certain point where you're just like, well, I feel like I've done all that I can do here. And at which point you need to transition into your golf game. That being said, I simply watch golf. And as a person who watches golf, a course that punishes people for minor mistakes means that you get the whole risk reward thing going on. Is someone going to take gambles on this golf course to try and catch up? Is someone going to take gambles on this golf course to try and get ahead? Right? And these are the courses that I feel like you can try and handicap them if you want to. Like you can try and run out these odds. Because here the U.S. Open odds right now, Dustin Johnson is a 29-4 favorite. You can try and run out those odds on me. Right? Jordan Spieth is 9-1. Jason Day is 11-1. Rory McIlroy 12-1. But this doesn't mean anything. If you are capable of winning the risk-reward battle on a brutal golf course, that's how you win. These are the golf courses that tend to produce a winner that we were not at all expecting. Right? Like just somebody that like now we have to know, right? Like I was watching the St. Jude's Classic last week, and maybe some of you all knew about Daniel Berger. I knew nothing about Daniel Berger last week. Like this is the kind of golf course that produces a Daniel Berger. Like you just, oh, that guy also plays golf. Good to know, right? I think we like it when one of the 6 or 7 names that we're all aware of wins, because then you sort of feel good about yourself for knowing who that is. But this is the golf course that produces somebody who sort of manages that risk and reward well. Like there's another dimension of this beyond golf. And it's simply, I could go for distance here, but if I mess up, I am in a rough that is so thick, I don't know if I can work my way back out. Like you need to either do your risk reward right or be absolutely flawless in your execution. Absolutely flawless. So I'm looking forward to this. I know that a lot of PGA players are not, but you know, they don't make this for you. They make this for us. If people watch the US Open, right? Whenever the courses are tough, whenever the courses are murderous, if people watch it, I mean, every golfer from here to the end of the earth can holler about how it's awful and how it's bad. They're going to keep making them. Right? Like we're just going to have another one in Wisconsin up at Erin Hills. Like if it's popular. And I think that this is kind of what golf needs. Like we don't have a terrifying golfer out there right now. We don't have a Tiger in his prime. And for me, as a golf fan, who I have to like be aware of so many more people now than I ever used to, if you can't give me a terrifying golfer, that's fine. The next best thing for you to give me is a terrifying golf course. The entertainment value of that is peak. I'm just a fan of that. You can't give me a terrifying golfer? Fine. Give me a terrifying golf course. And the PGA, especially the USGA, is like, yeah, we can give you that whenever we want, right? Like we could wait around another 15, 20 years before we find another Tiger. You don't need to wait that long before you find another Erin Hills. You don't. We can keep giving you tough ones every single year. Because it's funny, because we're going to be complaining about this later. The Open Championship has been letting their courses get a little bit rough. And of course, it's England, so you just kind of deal with the wind that comes with that naturally, the wind and the rain that naturally comes with playing over in England. But yeah, you can't give me a terrifying golfer. I'm cool, but then give me a terrifying golf course, right? In a way that a lot of sports cannot manage to do. So we've got the terrifying Golden State Warriors, and we want to see them be challenged by somebody, and you really can't find anybody who's going to challenge them unless we get another collection of stars designed to overcome that specific team. right? Like that's the way that it's kind of gone. Well, in golf, you can have both. And right now we're missing the golfer. I'll take the golf course. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. You're listening to Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. Make sure to check us out. You can find us on Facebook, our Twitter, our YouTube, all of our social media. And you can call into the show and weigh in with your opinions. 423-800-8949. That is 800-8949.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM's news now.
Chuck Fleischman injured and bloodied, escaping from gunfire, suffering an injury to his ankle. There was a shooting at a Republican baseball practice game for representatives and senators. One congressional aide was shot in the chest, and House Majority Whip Steve Scalise in critical condition after being shot in the hip. The man believed to be the shooter, James Hodgkinson from Illinois, confirmed dead. He had a violent past, including arrest for battery, and posted vehement anti-Trump messages on his social media pages. The manhunt continues for 2 Georgia inmates accused of killing 2 correctional officers and escaping in a carjacked vehicle. A $60,000 reward is being offered for any information that leads to the capture of Donnie Rowe and Ricky DeBose. Rescue efforts underway Wednesday afternoon for a teenager who fell at the Blue Hole swimming area in the Pocket Wilderness in Soddy Daisy. Rescuers say she slipped and injured her ankle, one of many injuries at the Cumberland Trail in the last few months. Russell Stroud, Nooga Radio News, now.
In-depth traffic, news, and information. Mornings on Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Any isolated showers are quickly diminished through your nighttime. Muggy overnight lows of around 70. Now for your midweek, more typical summertime weather with hot and humid days through Thursday. A few widely scattered, mainly afternoon showers and storms. More of that expected through Friday. This month at participating Napa stores, Valvoline Full Synthetic Motor Oil is on sale for just $5.59 a quart. Take advantage now and protect your engine from the heat all summer long, now at your local Napa Auto Parts. And I'm Storm Machine 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on Nooga Radio AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
The American dream, home ownership. Are you building equity for your landlord? Why not build that equity for yourself and your family? Rent No More is a no obligation, no cost program. It's designed to teach you the steps necessary and to coach you all along the path to home ownership. Integrity Mortgage Group is owned and operated by local expert Jeff Woody Woodburn. Jeff has been in the mortgage business for over 15 years. Born and raised right here in the Chattanooga area, Jeff is also known as the Lone Ranger. He's helped countless hundreds. Really eager to help you too. So don't wait. Come on, call Danielle right now. You need to reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. A Nooga Radio is proud to partner with Integrity Mortgage Group to bring you Rent No More. Reserve your spot for this exciting, informative event. Space is limited, so call now to reserve yours. It's free. 423-517-8004. 423-517-8004. Call 423-517-8004. Stop building equity for your landlord. Live the American dream. Home ownership with Rent No More. We'll see you there.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
He stole out so much cash, such a huge amount of cash, that he's become a national star. Rick Davis. You know the story. Cash, 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 and more cash. People can't believe it. They want to see it. And now Rick Davis has a new TV show. National TV, USA and Canada. He's got the gold and silver, diamonds and rings. You get dizzy just thinking about it. Rick's selling. Rick's buying. Cash, 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 and more cash. And now a mountain of cash catching the Hollywood spotlight. You know where it is. Brainerd Road, Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds. Cash, 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 and national TV cash. That's really big. Everyone wants to see it. Money flying out the door. Rick Davis is America's jeweler. It's better than Hollywood. It's right here. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis, Golden Diamonds, Brainerd Road.
You love me. You really love me.
The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
I'm blowing everything up. We're starting over. I'm doing a new show. I want guys who push it to the middle of the table and go over the top. Take a risk, fail miserably. I'm right, and I'm not wrong, and I'll never back down. Conflict works. Allow it.
It's The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Right here and everywhere. Noon Eastern. The Tennessee Valley's news, talk, and sports leader. Nooga Radio, AM 1240 and 92.7 FM.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240, 92.7 FM. Athletes ranked college football teams 1 to 130, that's a lot of football teams. That is a lot of football teams, right? Like when you have to start going down the list and you're including UAB and FAU, like no disrespect to those schools, but you go through a top anything list, and unless you root for those schools or watch those conferences specifically, are you giving any thoughts to UAB? Like FAU on some level, because Lane Kiffin's there now and he's a walking headline, right? Like Lane Kiffin opens his mouth and controversy just flows from his face. Okay, he's coaching LeVar Ball. Like that's what he is. And so like on that level, you care about FAU, but do you like really, really care about FAU? Could you name anybody on that roster? Because I sure can't. Right? Like UAB's got an incredible story. They lost their football program. They were able to get it brought back. But again, could you name anybody on that roster if you're not a fan of that school or if you didn't attend UAB? Probably not. That's a lot of football teams to cover, right? So I just tend to stick around in the top 20, 25 because all the schools that I recognize, watch, and root for are pretty much there. I was a little bit surprised sort of in the idea of Georgia being 15 and Florida being 16 in this list. In large part because to me, both of those schools feel like gigantic question marks. And, you know, call me crazy because I did pick Georgia to win the East, but they're a gigantic question mark. Like I could not guarantee you that Georgia wins the East. I could not guarantee you that Florida wins the East, right? Like they're very close together. They're on each other's heels. One of those two schools is probably going to wind up winning the East, but you know, you have a couple of bad games and Tennessee has a better season than expected. They might end up winning it, which by the way, is how Florida ended up winning it the last couple of years because everybody picked Tennessee last year and a lot of people picked Georgia the year before, right? So there is some level of credence to that. Like these two schools, I don't know who's actually better, but I do know this. I don't know where the development of Jacob Eason puts him with regards to the top quarterbacks in the league. I don't know. And I could not tell you if Malik Zaire can stay healthy long enough to achieve this potential that we all know that he has. Like if you've watched any Notre Dame football with him at all, like I just promise you, go to YouTube, look up the highlights of Malik Zaire, especially in that bowl game a couple of years back. You'll be absolutely impressed. The man is an accurate passer. He's a very mobile player. He's an incredible athlete. Like he's everything that you want in a college football quarterback, except healthy. He cannot stay on the field, and that is a gigantic problem. and one that has hounded him his entire college football career. He's never played more than 8 games in a college football season. Like, what do you want? What do you actually think this guy is capable of? If he is capable of staying healthy, then Florida, I think that 16 is probably too low. You know, Jacob Eason is a guy, I expect him to be a really good quarterback this year. If he's not as good as advertised, 15 is too high. If Jacob Eason makes the leap into being a more elite quarterback, being more consistent, being able to accurately convert on short to intermediate throws, because I actually liked him on deep throws and on 3rd and 4th down throws. It was the everyday routine stuff, right? Like first a 5-yard out on 1st down. He struggled with some of those. And I don't understand why. Like if you're able to get more out of Jacob Eason in that way, and he has lost some of his weapons at receiver, if you're able to get more out of him in that way, then I think 15 is too low for Georgia. I mean, if you're going to have LSU at 11, because you've got, okay, so at LSU at 11 is interesting to me because Danny Etling, like we know what he is. We know he's average. So what we're essentially saying when we put LSU at 11 is their defense is great. They're going to be able to run the ball, which both of those things are in fact true. Darius Geis is going to be awesome. But Danny Etling is your quarterback. So we're saying that offensively, Matt Canada is that much of a boost. Matt Canada is so much of a boost that LSU could essentially be considered a top 10 team. Like they are that close. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know that I necessarily agree. Right? Like LSU to me is the quarterback position away from being a terrifying football team. Right? And an absolute thorn in the side of Alabama. But they do need to actually get that quarterback first. I don't think there's any doubts about that at all. They haven't found him. Danny Etling's not it. I think Danny Etling's going to be good enough to make LSU look decent enough. Like LSU's going to have a good season, a solid season. But I'd like to see 2 years of Matt Canada and maybe the quarterback that you have, your quarterback of the actual future. Because it's not him. Right? Like, I don't think that that's really up for question. It's not him. So what you're saying is the Matt Canada effect is that strong. And also, I don't know. I don't know if I can buy that. Right? Like Georgia makes the leap. They're 11 on that list. Right? Because I don't feel comfortable moving any of the other ACC schools. Though I do think 7 for Clemson is really high. I understand that Clemson's still really good. They're still really talented. They're going to drop off a lot in talent because you're going to have to replace Mike Williams and Deshaun Watson. That's not an easy replacement at all, unless you're saying that like just the next guy up is that good. And I will acknowledge that I don't know because I'm not aware of Clemson's quarterback situation. Like, I don't know how well those guys play. I've been paying attention to Deshaun Watson this entire time, but that's a tough act to follow, right? And this is not one of those, like Nick Saban's done a great job. It's not one of those Alabama teams where you can follow a great Alabama team in what's supposed to be a down year with another great Alabama team because Alabama's never relied on quarterbacks. Like, say whatever you want about Clemson, but they relied very heavily on Deshaun Watson to bail them out when they did not play well, to make plays when as a team they did not play well. And he did. To me, I cannot in good conscience go, oh yeah, no, Clemson's still 7th. They're the 7th best team in the nation. They're the national title holders, right? Like they're the defending champs. So you want to give them the respect of having them in the top 10. But unless you have another Deshaun Watson back there that we were not aware of, and that could very well be the case, you're not top 10. That's not a top 10 school right now. Like, unless you've just got another Deshaun Watson in the chamber ready to go, you're not a top 10 school. Right? And equally, if you were able to get anything out of Malik Zaire, if you're Florida, in terms of a full season of consistent play, if you're able to get anything out of him in that form or in that fashion, then guess what? That to me, when you consider the level of talent that they have, the strength of that defense, the fact that they're going to be able to run the ball, that to me is a top 10 school, a school that you have to look at with the potential to win the SEC East, because like every time that or the SEC as a whole, every time they've met up with Alabama in Atlanta, they have not had a quarterback that can do anything to Alabama. And if you know anything about Alabama, at least over the last few years, if you don't have a quarterback that can put up anywhere in the ballpark of 400 yards, you do not have a chance. You don't. Chad Kelly was able to do it twice. Austin Allen was able to do it. Deshaun Watson was able to do it. And if you don't have a guy that can do that, usually a guy that's a dual threat guy in some kind of way or has a super strong arm, unless you've got one of those two guys, you really can't compete with Alabama. Like you'd be giving Florida a puncher's chance. I think that at that point you'd have to knock Auburn or knock Clemson out of this list, because I feel like it's fair that Auburn's in the top 10. I think LSU is going to be good enough to be around there, but LSU with Danny Etling is not necessarily a world beater of a team. It is a good team, but it's not a destructive force like what we think that LSU might be able to be down the road. And by the way, we talked about Matt Canada, so now it's time for our Matt Canada alert.
Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, bang, there we go. Bang, 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 bang. Good job. Bang, bang. Woo, there he goes. Bang, 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 bang. Oh, not bad.
Matt Canada says bang a lot. I would just like to point this out to you that as a football coach, I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say the word more often than that man. All right. Like that was basically him coaching LSU right there for the first practice that they had with him. And yeah, every time we talk about Matt Canada, I would have to remind you, Matt Canada likes the word bang, and he says it a lot. Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. So the Titans have been, I feel like, in their eyes so far, been vindicated in their draft pick of Corey Davis, who is a guy that drew a lot of skepticism when they took him with the number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, because there were other receivers out there that people thought might be a little bit better. I know that people liked Mike Williams a little bit better. I know that people liked John Ross a little bit better. He's just a blazing speed that you can't ignore. But the Titans went ahead and took Corey Davis, who, by the way, as far as speed goes, is no slouch. And as far as size goes, because people go, Mike Williams has got the big body. He's able to go up and get the football, make football plays, attack the ball. Corey Davis, size-wise, at 6'3", is no slouch, okay? I mean, this guy's a big guy as well, so he's got a pretty decent combination of the two. He's very fast, and as well, he can go up and catch the ball. I think he gets knocked a little unfairly for playing Division II ball. Guys play Division II ball and make it in the NFL, not all the time, but frequently enough, right? Like Randy Moss played Division II ball. Terrell Owens played at UTC. And while I am not suggesting that Corey Davis is either of those guys, hashtag get Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame, I'm not suggesting that Corey Davis is either of those guys. I'm saying that he can go out there and perform like a high-level first-round pick. Like the Division II thing is weird because people are like, oh, yeah, he was running past guys like they were in slow motion. But that's just because he was in Division II. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Like his 40 time was legitimate. Didn't he run like a 4.740? 4.640? Like it was an insanely fast time for a guy his size. Like, no, Corey Davis is fast. And Corey Davis actually does have very good hands. when he looks at the football all the way into his hands. His problem is that he has a tendency to take his eyes off the football and start to look downfield before he's got the football, which, yes, that is a gigantic problem and must be addressed, but it is a problem that can be addressed. It's not one of those things that tends to be very uncoachable. Like if a guy has alligator arms, you know what I mean. You remember that? Alligator arms. Where a guy, he's so afraid of getting hit when he's catching the ball, he sort of, instead of reaching his arms out to go catch the football, he kind of tucks them in so he can protect himself once he has the ball as well. Which the Super Bowl where the Eagles played the Patriots, I believe that was the 2004 Super Bowl. That was the storyline, that a lot of the Eagles receivers had alligator arms. And in fact, I've never heard that phrase uttered before or since that Super Bowl. But yeah, alligator arms were a thing, if you recall. If the problem with Corey Davis was that would be something that would be hard to coach, because that just means you're scared. I can't uncoach scared. When I say I mean a coach, not me. Like, it's hard to uncoach scared, right? You can't teach a guy to be fearless. You can't teach a guy to be courageous. But yeah, a guy that just is so ready to make a play that he doesn't pay attention all the way, you can practice that. You can practice that until he instills good habits in how he catches the ball. Absolutely. And you had to go out and get Marcus Mariota some kind of outside weapon. Something that when he throws to the sidelines, he's got a guy out there. Somebody that can go put pressure on safeties downfield and go put pressure on the back of a defense, right? Which opens up the running game that the Titans are really good at doing anyway. Like, DeMarco Murray was an absolute monster last year. And by the way, won the respect of a lot of his peers. What is he, 20-something on the top 100 players list? Which doesn't mean that he's a top 20 player in the league. But it does mean that people notice that, yeah, no, this DeMarco Murray dude's kind of a beast. I mean, J.J. Watt also made the list, so it's kind of a pointless list. But the point is that people notice how good DeMarco Murray is and has been. Right? Like, he's been insane. And if you give that guy any more room, can you imagine what more damage he could actually do? Like, honestly, I might owe Mike Mularkey an apology. That's how good, that's how well designed this team has been. So Corey Davis shows up to training camp. He's got a good first training camp. That's the most work that he's done as a Titan. The OTAs are kind of, you take it slow, right? Like, they already don't allow you to push players too far in this new CBA. Well, it's not really a new CBA, but in this most recent CBA, they already don't allow you to push players that far. The NFL Players Association, that's what they wanted, and that's what they got, and that's fair. So yeah, the OTAs, you're definitely not getting any real physical test. So the first training camp practice, like that, the first practice of camp, like that's very promising that everybody's raving about Corey Davis and everything. And before the people that come at me and say, hey, no, that's just a camp. That's just training camp. You cannot get excited about training camp. I bet you're one of those guys that gets excited about preseason. So actually, I do get excited about preseason. Sure, just the first week. Like, I'm not interested in watching any of the other ones. But yeah, I do actually. Once I start seeing like vaguely real football and something that basically resembles it in any way, I'm good. I'm fine with it. So I'm one of those guys that, yeah, no, I am excited about training camp. And by the way, there's the only thing worse than guy who gets excited about training camp is the guy that has to get bummed about training camp because his team looks like they're filled with bums. And that would be the New York Jets, right? Like, the other option here is that rather than hearing good news about Corey Davis, we hear bad news about Corey Davis, like Jets fans hear every day about all of their players, especially their quarterback position, in which Christian Hackenberg, the guy that has been sort of groomed as their next quarterback, absolutely cannot stop throwing errant passes and hitting reporters with them on the sideline, right? Like the reporters are not, by the way, running out for routes. The reporters are not going out there trying to catch the ball. The reporters are still somehow being found by football, despite the fact that they are there simply to report. Christian Hackenberg hitting reporters with errant passes. Now, it could be that we could twist this in some way to make it seem like Christian Hackenberg is doing the whole Odell Beckham Jr. and he's criticizing the media. But I feel like it's not that strategic. I feel like Christian Hackenberg is just being bad at being a quarterback. That's what I think. I think he has been awful. And if that's the news you're hearing out of your training camp, realize the training camp is no big deal until it's awful. And then it's a very big deal. Take your good news and roll right on with it. All right? I think that that's the best course of action. You don't necessarily need to be critical and criticize every little thing. Sometimes you just got to take some good stuff with it, right? Like, I think I'm a guy, I like to watch movies. I can be very critical of movies to the point where I do not actually enjoy them. And, you know, I feel like my life would be a little bit better if I did not criticize movies so much. I could enjoy some movies just for being movies. I feel like with training camp, you just got to be a little less critical on that one. Yep, he had a good training camp. There's an alternative here, which is that he's having a bad training camp. And if he's having a bad training camp, that's a big story. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on AM 1240 and 92.7 FM. I'd like to thank you all for joining me today, giving me just a slice of your time. You know that I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch, and I'll see you in 24 hours.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Competent, kind, caring, knowledgeable, experienced, great listener, great negotiator, in touch, accessible. If these are the characteristics you want and need in a realtor, you want and need Thomas DeMoss of Keller Williams Realty. Thomas is a very gifted realtor who puts the client's needs first. Whether you're buying or selling a home, Thomas is the realtor of choice. Thomas will help and guide you through each step of this very important process. For many of us, the purchase of a home is one of our largest investments and most important family and financial decision. Let Thomas use his 10 years of experience in the Chattanooga real estate market to give you the advantage you need when buying or selling a home. Buying a house? Thomas can help you navigate the emotional and somewhat anxious process of buying a home. For those of you who want to sell a house, Thomas uses his marketing and negotiating experience to help you sell your home for top dollar. Thomas is a local resident raising his family here in Hamilton County. He knows the area very well. For many agents, real estate is a job. With Thomas DeMoss, it's a passion and what he loves to do. Call Thomas today for a no-obligation consultation. He makes the process as simple as possible. Call 423-364-0028 and visit his website, northriverpropertygroup.com.
Picture that curl of steam rising from your fresh-made pizza. And in a flash, let it take you aloft, teasing all your senses. I'm talking about Jet's Pizza. If you eat out at Jet's in Hickson or take home your steaming deep dish square pizza, you'll love Jet's. They use only the best ingredients in a family recipe. Also try the cheesy bread, wings, chicken, or bread with bacon, antipasta or Greek salad. Jet's Pizza at Buy Low near the S-Curves. Open till 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 11 p.m. Friday and Saturday. You can order online or have it delivered. jetspizza.com. That's jetspizza.com. Or call them now. They'll have it ready when you get there. 757-1616. That's 757-1616.
Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Final expenses, funeral cost, cemetery lots, unpaid medical bills, probate cost, debts. Debts are due and payable upon death of debtor. Will these costs produce a burden and hardship on your loved ones? Who will be responsible? How will they handle them? These costs can total many thousands of dollars, only compounded greater with the grief of losing a family member. A safe and secure way to provide for these costs is with an affordable life insurance from Covenant Group Insurance and Financial Services. Covenant Group is a local company with local agents. Covenant Group still makes house calls. Covenant Group only represents A-rated companies. With many options to offer, Covenant Group can accommodate almost any budget. Great discounts for good health and plans available for impaired risk. Call today for a free, no-obligation consultation in the convenience of your home. Call Steve or Jada at 423-855-8484. Call today 423-855-8484. Are you looking for a gospel-oriented, covenantal, family-friendly Reformed church? Dayton Reformed Presbyterian Church is a body of Christ-centered believers gathering for worship on the Lord's Day from around southeastern Tennessee. Our congregation is reformational in its outlook. It has a traditional worship service regulated by the Word of God. Prayer, singing the Psalms, reading God's holy Word, teaching, preaching the Bible, the administration of the sacrament. Dayton Reformed Pres, committed to the authority of the Bible as the inerrant, infallible Word of God. As Westminster Confession of Faith directs every Christian, we aim to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. As a Reformed church, our purpose is teaching and preaching the gospel, making and training disciples of Jesus Christ, taking dominion for our Lord's sake by applying God's holy and perfect law to every area of life. We would be honored to have you join us for worship. Dayton Reformed Presbyterian. This Sunday morning at 11 at Dayton Community Chapel, 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton. Click DaytonRPC.org. Click DaytonRPC.org. 184 Mulberry Avenue, Dayton.
It is Eric Jones hard into the outside wall, and they are still 3 and 4 wide. It looks like we're racing at Talladega.
Caution flag is out. It looked like Denny Hamlin was trying to get by Ricky Stenhouse. Got into the back of Ricky at the line. Man, that's a close one. Matt Kenseth wins stage 1.
Green checkered flag is out, and Brad Keselowski has won stage 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. into the wall. That will bring out the caution. Caution waving once again. And again, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. involved.
Oh, trouble. Ty Dillon has gotten turned to the inside of the racetrack, and Clint Boyer has just nailed him.
Matt Kenseth falling back, the field storming by. Something wrong. Now we see sparks from Kenseth's Toyota.
Larson chucks him off. Coming off turn number 2. Nose to tail. Now it's Logano to the high side in 3.
Joey Logano, a winner here at the Richmond International Raceway.
Hear it live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
The voice of NASCAR.